What does your study suggest about how collectively as Americans we are feeling about our finances right now?
Good morning, Brian. Thanks for having me. Well, I think across the board, what we find is a moderate to extreme concern about the state of individuals' household finances, whether it's the ability to pay bills, about job security, the value of investments. And obviously, these are all elevated since before the crisis. In some cases, we found that the CARES Act has helped to, let's say, limit some of this concern, but we're talking about a majority of Americans who have these concerns either at a moderate or extreme level. So obviously it's quite pervasive.
Yeah, and what is the single biggest concern? Is it simply the ability to pay down their obligations, losing their job? What is it?
Yeah, well, basically, I would say they're almost all extremely high. So if we look at the number one concern in terms of the percentage of Americans expressing that, it really is job security or the reliability of income. And then after that, the ability to pay bills, just getting by, taking care of the basics. And then third on the list is the value of investments. But nevertheless, all these are elevated, Brian.
There's one thing, though, that is a little bit sensitive, I think, to talk about, Mark. But the one, everyone's doing Zooms and talking on the phones. The one thing that I do hear from a lot of people, again, just anecdotally talking to, is that they're also saving a lot of money. They're not commuting. They're not going out to eat. There's no discretionary travel. It's almost like, yes, there are economic worries, but at the same time, everybody I know is like, man, I'm saving $500 a month in New Jersey Transit train fees. Is there any gauge on sort of how much more we might collectively be saving as well? Because we're not doing anything.
Right. Well, I suppose if you were to look at the data and say for a decline in retail sales, obviously that is money that was not spent at retail. We'll obviously get a closer look at the actual consumer spending figures as we proceed into the calendar. It's important to remember, though, Brian, that we're talking about the likelihood that unemployment in the country is getting very close to the 20% level. So it is true that people who, the likes of us, thank God for that, are still gainfully employed. But for all those out there that had not sufficiently saved in the first place and now find that living paycheck to paycheck wasn't a very sustainable strategy now that income has been taken away.
Do we have any idea what kind of gap unemployment, along with that $600 sweetener that Congress threw in, will make up for that here? The folks that unfortunately have lost their job, if it is temporary, will they be made at least partly whole?
Well, obviously somewhat, but another question we asked in the survey was really political in a sense, and that was, with respect to your personal finances, do you think Washington needs to do more? And nearly 6 out of 10 said yes. 32% said that Washington has done enough, and 11% said it's done too much. Interestingly enough, this broke down along party lines where Democrats tended to say that Washington needs to do more and Republicans not as often. But I think probably what they're looking for there is something to plug that gap of income that you referred to.